I found the listing at 1:14 a.m., thumb-scrolling Craigslist. Most of it was the usual late-night junk. Work from home, unlimited earning potential, be your own boss, door-to-door sales disguised as marketing. I'd already done my time in phone work, so I knew how to read between the lines. I was looking for something that didn't pretend it was fun, something that didn't use too many exclamation marks. Then I saw it. Phone the dead, help them move on. Night shift. 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., calm voice required. For a second I just stared, not because it was unbelievable, but because it was so blunt. In this city, you could buy a coffee with oat milk, an oil change, a wedding officiant, or a licensed spirit mediator all in the same block. The paranormal wasn't a secret anymore. It was a service. It was paperwork and liability insurance and a complaint line you could call if your deceased uncle kept turning on your porch light at 3 a.m. The bullet points were as follows. Benefits after 60 days, training provided, background check required, must be comfortable with bereavement protocols, preferred active Afterlife communications operator license, must follow script, no promises, no bargaining, no unapproved contact with living parties. I snorted at the last one, not because it was funny, but because it was familiar. Every hotline had its own rules. Some were about compliance and some were about safety. I checked the listing and read it twice. The company name sat in the middle. Moving on. I knew the kind of work it was without knowing the company. New boutique afterlife services popped up every year. Guided passage, crossing assistance, spirit liaison. Some were legitimate. Some were scammers that preyed on the grieving. Some were well-meaning and underfunded, and got shut down the first time a tethered soul screamed through their lines and fried an entire transformer. But this one... this had something I cared about. Preferred active license. I leaned back in my desk chair. I rubbed my face. My bank app had started loading slower the last few days, almost like it didn't want to show me the numbers anymore. I'd been patching together delivery shifts, odd jobs, a couple funerary transit runs where they were desperate and didn't ask too many questions. Nothing steady, nothing with benefits, nothing that made my landlord stop leaving friendly reminders taped to my door. I used to work at a similar facility, not for the dead exactly, but adjacent. An aftercare call center contracted by 3 different insurance providers. We were the people families called the day after, or 2 months after, or 10 years after. When the grief hadn't become manageable yet and the paperwork had turned into a small personal hell. Back then, I got my Afterlife communications operator license because it made me more valuable. We handled overflow calls for companies that ran true tether support routes. Mostly, we just scheduled, verified policies, linked people to providers, and listened when it was 2 a.m. and someone couldn't breathe because they dreamed that their mother was still yelling in the kitchen. But a few nights a month, if the main line was down or a provider had an outage, we'd get a redirected tether call. Those were different. Even the air in the headset felt heavier, like the cable had weight. I'd been good at those. Not heroic good, not movie good, just steady. I knew how to keep my voice flat when someone was spiraling. I knew how to re-anchor them to their own words. I knew how to not make promises. I still had my license. It was active. I'd kept it renewed even after I quit, paying the fees like a superstition, like keeping my hand on a door I might need again. Maybe this was that door. The listing had a number at the bottom. No apply online, no corporate portal. Just a phone number and a line that read, "Call after 6 p.m. Ask for Nick." I looked at the line. Then I looked at my bank app again. Then I hit call. It rang twice. Moving on, the man said, calm and unhurried. Nick speaking. His voice was professional. Hi, I said. My name's Zach. I'm calling about the Craigslist posting of the night shift. Paper shifted on his end, and he was pulling the listing up. You're calling early. I saw the number, figured I'd try. There was a small pause. Not awkward, but evaluating. How's your voice hold up under stress, Zach? He asked. Fine, I said, then corrected myself because I knew better than to oversell. I've done call work, and I'm licensed. Afterlife Communications, active. That made him inhale a little deeper. What facility? Harbor Aftercare. I didn't add the rest. That it was a contractor, and half the job was soothe rage about billing codes. I did a couple years. So you know scripts? I rolled my shoulders. Yeah, I know scripts. And you know silence? I can sit in it. I don't fill it just because I'm nervous. Good, Nick said, and then came the next question in the same flat tone. Do you believe what we do here is real? I didn't laugh, I didn't hesitate. Yes. Another pause. Not testing now, but deciding. Okay. I heard him scribble something. Night shift starts at 9. You can come in a little early, 8:30. Bring your license card, a second ID, and don't wear anything with metal studs. Why not studs? They interfere with the booth if they're close enough. It wasn't dramatic the way he said it. The address is... He gave it to me. An industrial strip I knew, tucked behind an auto body shop in a warehouse that always smelled like cardboard and dust. Nothing about it sounded like the set of a haunted movie, which again made me trust it more than I wanted to. Before we hung up, he said, One more thing. Yeah? His voice dropped half a degree. Not ominous, but serious. Don't try to save them. Just help them stop holding on. I didn't know why, but that sentence stuck under my ribs. Like I'd been doing something wrong this whole time without realizing it. I can do that. Good. See you at 8:30. He hung up first. I showered, I ate, and I found my license card in the back of a drawer with old pay stubs and a hospital bracelet from a year I didn't like remembering. The card was still clean, edges worn from being handled too much. At 8:12 p.m., I drove out to the address. The sky bruised with late winter clouds and the streetlights already on. I parked between a dumpy sedan and an unmarked white van that could have belonged to literally any business in the strip. The building had a modest sign over the door, "Moving On," in simple black letters over frosted glass. No skulls, no candles in the windows, no neon psychic readings. Inside, it smelled like cleaning solution and warm electronics. A keypad guarded the inner door. A camera watched it. A small plaque beside the frame listed their licensure numbers and compliance certifications like any other regulated office would. Beneath that, in plain print, no promises, no dares, no bargaining. That one I felt. I buzzed. After a second, the door clicked open. The lobby was small. A counter, a few chairs that had seen better years, a water cooler with a stack of paper cups. On the wall, a laminated poster about tether safety and a little brochure rack with titles that made grief look like a cable subscription. Understanding tethers, after-pass coverage options, consent and contact, a guide for the living. I signed in on a clipboard, name, time, ID check, and felt that old call center muscle memory kick in. The feeling of stepping into a role, putting your personal life in a box and shoving it under the desk for 8 hours. Beyond the lobby, the work floor opened up into a dim space with 4 cubicles, each with a desk lamp and a headset hanging like a sleeping animal. Sound-dampening panels lined the walls. The carpet was new enough to look intentional, not just cheap. And then there was the booth. It sat at the far end with a waist-high barrier, a glass enclosure like a phone booth you'd see in a museum. Thick cables ran into the floor beneath it, cords as fat as my wrist had disappeared into a conduit. The glass had a faint, milky sheen, like it was coated in something. A low static hum lived around it, not loud but present, the way a refrigerator is present if you listen hard enough. As I stood there, the hum brushed my molars. Not pain, just pressure, like the air was dense. "You're early," someone said behind me. I turned. Nick looked like a guy you'd find in any office, which I decided was the whole point. Mid to late 30s, sleeves rolled up, a little gray at the temples, tired eyes that had seen too much sadness but hadn't gone dead from it. No priest collar, no trench coat, just a man with a job. He held out his hand. "Nick." "Zach." His grip was firm and quick. He gestured toward a small break area. "Water?" "I'm good," I said, then took the water anyway. He walked me to the nearest cubicle and set a laminated packet on the desk like it weighed something. The branding was gentle in a way that almost annoyed me. Soft colors, a logo that looked like a door half opened, framed mission statement on the partition wall. "We help souls complete their transition with dignity and clarity." "Script's non-negotiable," Nick said, tapping the packet once. "We improvise later, not at the start." "I'm fine with that." "I know." He glanced at my license card as I placed it on the desk. He checked it against a printed sheet, nodded, and slid it back. "You're active. That's good." He pulled up a chair opposite me, sitting like this was an interview and a debrief at the same time. "Here's what we do. We route tethered resonance through insulated lines. The booth stabilizes it, keeps it from bleeding into open frequencies. That means no random spillover, no accidental contact, no contamination." He said the last word like he'd seen the worst version of it. "Operators talk. We don't summon, we don't trap, we don't punish. We don't promise them what's next. We help them find what's tethering them here, and we help them let it go." I nodded. I understood that part. The dead weren't monsters in this world, they were people with a problem. Nick flipped to the first page of the script and read the opening line. "Hello, this is Zach. Thank you for calling Moving On. Are you paying through your insurance provider or an alternate method?" He looked up. "You say that every time, even if they're crying, even if they're angry, even if they're polite. It anchors them. It makes them a caller in a process, not a ghost in a storm." "Got it." "The insurance isn't about money," Nick added, like he'd heard the judgment before. "It's authorization. Policy keys keep the line stable and prevent crosstalk. Alternate methods exist, but they're documented and consented." He tapped a section further down the page. "Most callers fit into 3 categories: regret, fear, attachment." "And the 4th?" I asked because I'd read the posting. Nick's mouth tightened, not in fear but in caution. "Unfinished delivery. Rare. Real-world involvement. More strict protocol. You don't go freelancing." I wouldn't. He held my gaze a moment, then nodded like it was the correct answer, not the comforting one. At the bottom of the packet, a printed schedule was clipped. Tonight, 3 calls. Nick stood, smoothing the front of his shirt like he was preparing himself as much as me. He glanced at the clock mounted high on the wall. 8:57. He put a headset on the desk in front of me, coiled the cord neatly, and looked at me with the same tired professional focus. "You'll take 3 tonight. We keep it small on the first shift." His smile was thin, but it was real. Then the hum from the booth deepened by a hair, and the phone line indicator on my monitor blinked from idle to ready. Nick stepped back. "Clock in, Zach." And I did. The first call hit my screen at 9:06 on the dot. Ready flipped to incoming, and a clean banner slid across the monitor. Afterpass Gold, verified. A file auto-opened beneath it like the system had been waiting for me to stop breathing. Dune Herald 49, tether location, 14th and Marrow, eastbound shoulder. Cause, sudden cardiac event. I put the headset on, adjusted the mic, and clicked accept. The booths hummed deep in the shade, subtle, but enough that I felt it in my molars, the way you feel the bass note in a car door. I delivered the opener exactly like Nick drilled into me. Hello, this is Zach. Thank you for calling Moving On. Are you paying through your insurance provider or an alternate method? A soft static answered first, controlled and clean, then a man's voice, polite, calm, and composed. Insurance. Afterpass Gold. I think I'm supposed to be here. Thank you. Harold Dune. Yeah? Can you confirm your policy code? 3 letters, 4 numbers. He rattled it off like he was still reading off a card he carried. I typed it in, verified. All right. I have your tethered location as 14th and Marrow, eastbound shoulder. Is that accurate? It is, he replied, and there was a faint distance in his tone, as if he was looking at the place while still talking about it. I'm there. I can see my truck. Hazard lights are still on. That was the part that never became normal for me. Hearing someone say, I can see, when their eyes shouldn't be doing anything anymore. Okay, I said, keeping my voice steady. You're on a secure line. You're stable in the booth. You can take your time. Tell me what's keeping you tethered. He exhaled through his nose, almost amused at himself. I shouldn't have said it like that. I let half a beat pass just to see what the line did. I shouldn't have said it like that, he repeated. Same pace, same tone, like a recording that didn't know it was repeating. My stomach tightened. Not fear, not exactly, but recognition. Harold, I said gently, interrupting the groove before it could deepen. You just said that twice. Silence. A thin, moving hiss across the line like someone shifting their weight. I did. Then softer. Sorry, yeah. I guess I'm stuck on it. It's okay. That helps me. It means you're caught in a memory loop. That's common with regret tethers. Regret. Yeah, that's the one. Let's name it, I said. Say the sentence you can't stop hearing, the exact sentence. The one the loop keeps handing back to you. He hesitated, but his composure held. He sounded like a man forcing himself to remain polite to the dentist while the drill starts. It was my brother. Not like I died in a shootout or something. We were just arguing over my mom's house. Where were you when it happened? In the argument? In the driveway. He was on the porch, Mom was inside. Okay, now give me the sentence. Harold swallowed. I could hear it as a tiny click against the static. I told him he was a leech, he said, and his voice went flatter, like he'd said it so many times it had worn the feeling off. I told him he'd been living off of her and that he didn't deserve anything. I told him if he wanted to be my brother, he could act like it. He went quiet. Then, like someone pressing play again, I shouldn't have said it like that. There it is. That's the loop line. His breath came faster for a second. Because I meant some of it. That's the worst part. I'm not making it up. He was. I'm not here to decide who was right. I'm here to get you unstuck. We do that in 3 steps. First, you named it. Now replace it. I kept my tone even. When the loop plays, what do you sense? Not the arguments, your surroundings. What do you smell? He blinked on whatever side he existed on. Gasoline, cut grass, there's charcoal. The neighbor grills all the time. What's the light like? It's dusk. That yellow tired light, it makes everything look like it needs a nap. Good. Now where are you standing? By my truck. Driver's side door, my hands on the handle. And where is he? On the porch step. Arms crossed like he is daring me to say it again. Okay, that's the place. Now, we release. His voice tightened. How? By speaking the sentence you didn't say. Not to redo the whole argument, not to rewrite your life. Just the one piece you didn't give him. If you'd have had one more breath in that driveway, what would you have said instead? A long pause. When he spoke again, that polished politeness had finally cracked, not into hysteria, but into something real. I would have said I'm sorry, Harold whispered, and it sounded like the first time he'd allowed the words to exist. I'm sorry I said it like that. I'm sorry I wanted to win more than I wanted to keep him. His breath hitched at the end of the sentence. That was the tether. Right there. Not the house, not the money, not the porch. The need to be right. I never said it. Not after, not before. I just got in the truck and drove away like I'd done something brave. You can't drive back. That's the hard truth. I know. So what do I do now? Just sit here forever? No. You stop gripping the moment like it's your whole identity. You acknowledge what happened and let yourself move. And how do I do that? I glanced at the laminated packet on my desk. The little box line Nick had pointed out earlier. It looked clinical on paper. It didn't feel clinical when a dead man was hanging off the edge of it. I'm asking you to say something out loud. Slowly, even if it feels stupid. All right. Repeat after me. I did what I could do with who I was. Harold repeated, voice shaking slightly. I did what I could do with who I was. I'm not that man anymore. I'm not that man anymore. I can stop holding this now. There was a pause. Half a second where the line felt lighter, like a fist getting ready to unclench. Then Harold exhaled, and the sound wasn't relief exactly. It was surprise. He said the words. Oh, he said next. What are you feeling? I asked, slow and steady. Pressure lifting. Like I've been bracing for a hit that never comes in my body, whatever I have. Forgot it could relax. The static smoothed. Not gone, but less jagged. As if the signal had stopped fighting itself. Good. That's the release starting. Harold went quiet, listening to something I couldn't hear. I can see brightness. Not out on the road, it's like it's behind my eyes. Like stepping out of a cramped room into a hallway. You don't realize how tight the room was until you leave it. My throat tightened, but I kept my voice even. This wasn't about me getting emotional, it was about him finishing. You can go when you're ready. Another pause. The kind that used to make me nervous in normal call work. Like the caller had hung up or passed out. Here it meant choice. Thank you, Zach, Harold said. And now the politeness didn't feel unsettling. It felt like a man holding a door open. You're welcome, I said. A clean system tone followed. 2 soft beeps, professional and final. The monitor flashed. Call complete. Tether status resolved. I sat there for a moment, with the headset still on, listening to nothing. My hands resting flat on the desk like they needed to remember what solid felt like. Across the room, Nick didn't do anything dramatic. He just gave me one small nod. Approval, sure, but also something like relief that the process still worked. My screen returned to ready, and a new file began to populate, letter by letter, like the night was only just getting started. The second call came in at 10:41, and I knew it was different before the voice even hit my ear. The banner on my monitor flashed, Afterlife Pass Silver verified, and the file populated with a name that looked sharp on the screen. Klein Maris 34. Tether type, prelim, fear fixation. Tether location unknown, roaming signal. Cause of death? Blunt trauma. Roaming signal meant she wasn't stuck to a place the way Harold had been. She was stuck to an idea. I clicked accept and put my voice back into that calm groove. Not warm, not fake, just steady enough to hold someone else up. Hello, this is Zach. Thank you for calling Moving On. Are you paying through your insurance provider or an alternate method? What do you think? She snapped. The line crackled, more jagged than Harold's, not louder but frenetic, like her signal kept trying to jump its own rails. Insurance, she said, clipped. Don't make me say it again. I won't, I replied, same volume, same speed. I didn't get defensive. I didn't apologize for the script. I treated her anger like weather. Real, but not something I had to stand out in unprotected. I have you as Maris Klein, is that correct? A beat of tense silence. Then through her teeth. Yes. Thank you. I'm going to verify your policy code. 3 letters, 4 numbers. She recited it fast, like spitting out a bad taste. My screen pinged, verified. Good. Stable enough to work. All right. I'm seeing your tether as a roaming signal, which is common with fear and fixation. That means you may feel like you're everywhere and nowhere? Does that match what you're experiencing? She made a sound that could have been a laugh, but it had so much disgust. I'm in my head. I'm in 1 second, over and over. I can't get out of 1 stupid second. Okay. Tell me the second. No. She snapped again. And for the first time, I heard something other than anger. It was panic. It's the last thought. The last thought is the only thing that matters because it's the truest one. It's what you are when you stop pretending. I'd heard living people talk like that at 3 a.m. The dead didn't get less human. They just lost the distractions. Maris, I said, keeping my voice measured. The last thought feels loud because everything else goes quiet. That doesn't make it the whole truth. You don't know that. You don't know what I did. Then tell me. Not the whole story, just the part you can't stop replaying. Her breathing came through the line. Thin, quick, controlled, like she was trying not to let it shake. I was driving. I was late. I was always late. I was always making it everyone else's problem. I was angry and I was texting and I... Static flared and then settled again. I looked down, she said, a voice tightening on each word. And when I looked up,
There was a brake light. There was a child's seat in the back of the car in front of me. I saw it like a picture. And my last thought wasn't, oh God, or I'm sorry. My last thought was, I ruined everything.
She swallowed hard. The anger drained out of her like water down a sink, leaving raw fear underneath.
I ruined everything,
she repeated quieter.
That's what I am. That's what I meant. That's what I thought when the truth had no time to dress itself up and pretend for me.
I let a short silence sit there, not because I didn't have words, but because rushing in would make it about me trying to fix it. The job wasn't me fixing, the job was guiding. The job was much like a therapist. You don't tell the patient the answer. You guide them to the conclusion that they make on their own. Maris, I'm not going to tell you you're innocent. I'm not going to tell you nothing matters. But I am going to tell you something important. Your loop is an interpretation, not a record.
Oh, so now we're doing therapy.
We're doing clarity, if you want. Another crackle. Her voice sharpened again, like she was trying to put the armor back on.
What clarity? I'm dead! I can't apologize, I can't face anyone, I can't even know if I killed them.
That one got in under my ribs. Because she didn't know. She died believing she'd caused harm, and the not knowing had become the chain. I glanced at the laminated binder beside the keyboard, the one Nick had pointed out earlier. Truth Audit Protocol, consent required, limited scope, no guarantees. Maris, I said carefully, I can run an event verification through our system. We call it a truth audit. Her laugh was sharp and ugly.
You can what? Pull up the universe on your little computer?
No, I said, firm but calm. I'm not omniscient. It's integrated record access. Public reports, emergency service logs, and our own residence traces. It won't be everything. It won't tell you whether someone forgives you, but it can tell you more than your loop. Silence again. I could almost hear her deciding whether to keep suffering because it felt deserved.
If you do it, and it says I did kill them,
I won't lie to you. But I also won't let one conclusion erase your entire life. You are allowed to know what happened. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a small voice that didn't match the snapping one,
run it.
Okay. I need your consent on record. Say, I consent to a moving on truth audit. A shaky breath.
I consent to a moving on truth audit.
I hit the function key. The system asked for secondary confirmation. I entered my operator ID. This call center was much like the last one I worked at, so there wasn't much to learn, really. On screen, a progress bar crawled across with clinical patients. Polling available records, EMS report located, traffic cam summary located, incident ID match located, residual trace partial. The summary populated. I read it once silently, then again to make sure I wasn't misreading. It wasn't a clean absolution, but it wasn't a neat damnation either. Okay, I said, choosing my words the way you choose where to step on ice. Here's what the record shows.
What?
Maris demanded, and there was terror in the way she tried to sound angry. You were in a multi-vehicle accident. There was a collision ahead of you before you impacted. Conditions were slick. The initial chain started with another driver.
That's...
Listen, I said gently but firm. This is the nuance part. You were distracted, that's confirmed. Your speed contributed. Your impact made things worse, that's true. Her breath hitched like she'd been punched. But the report indicates the occupants of the vehicle you struck survived. Injuries, yes. Hospitalization, yes. But they lived. For a second, there was no sound at all, not even static, like her signal had gone perfectly still.
They lived?
Yes, they lived. A sound came out of her that wasn't laughter and wasn't a sob, something between, like a person trying to let go and not knowing how.
And me?
She asked, suddenly furious again, like someone needed to pay.
I'm the only one who died?
You were the only fatality listed in the report. Maris, your last thought told you ruined everything. The record says you caused harm, but you didn't destroy what your mind insists you destroyed. Her breathing turned ragged.
I still did it. I still distracted, selfish, late. I still...
Yes, you did. And you can carry that remorse without turning it into a life sentence that outlives your life. She made a small, broken noise. I leaned forward in my chair like I could bring my voice closer through the wire. You are not the entire storm. You are part of it. Not the whole sky. That landed. I felt it in the way the static softened, in the way her breath slowed. Maris cried then. Not dramatic, not wailing, just that quiet, involuntary sound of someone unclenching a fist that they'd closed for too long. After a minute, she spoke again, voice raw.
Do they hate me?
The question hit harder than the accident details. I don't know, and I'm not going to guess. You won't find peace by guessing for them. Silence. Then a shaky inhale.
So what do I do?
You stop letting one thought define you. You acknowledge what you did. You let yourself regret it. And you look for the exit.
I don't see one.
Don't force it. Just turn your attention away from the loop, even a few degrees. I heard her breath, slow and deliberate, like she was turning her head.
Oh,
she said, soft. What is it?
It's not a big light. It's a thin line, like a door cracked open somewhere off to the side. I didn't notice it because I was staring at the moment.
That's how it works. You don't muscle your way out. You cut the chains holding you. Maris was quiet for a few seconds. I imagined her, whatever her looked like now, standing with her hands empty for the first time since she died.
It's quiet. I forgot quiet existed.
You can go, I told her. She didn't thank me the way Harold did. She didn't have the energy for politeness. But right before the line dropped, she said very softly, like it cost her pride to admit it.
I hear you.
Then the system tone sounded. 2 clean beeps. Call complete. Tether status resolved. I exhaled and realized my shoulders had been up around my ears. Across the room, Nick's eyes met mine for a second. He nodded again. We didn't save them. We helped them stop holding on. My screen returned to ready, and beneath it a new flag blinked. Rare, bright, and impossible to ignore. Delivery case. Pending authorization. The flag showed up while my ears were still ringing from Maris's silence. Delivery case. Pending authorization. It blinked in a clean corporate font like it wanted to pretend it was just another checkbox, but my stomach went tight anyway. In normal call work, delivery meant sending a fax, forwarding a form, calling a supervisor, Here, it meant stepping out from behind a desk and taking somebody's dead words into the living world. My cursor hovered over accept for a second longer than it had on the other calls. The booth's hum felt warmer, closer. I clicked. "Hello, this is Zach," I said, voice steady. "Thank you for calling Moving On. Are you paying through your insurance provider or an alternate method?" The line answered with a soft, even crackle, less jagged than Maris, less airy than Harold, controlled and purposeful. "Insurance," an older man said. "Alternate method authorized by spouse." My eyes flicked to the case header. Alt authorization on file, a scanned signature, a living name attached to a dead one. "Thank you. May I have your name?" "Elliot Vance." The file populated. Vance Elliot 67. Tether type, unfinished delivery. Status active. Bridge eligible. I swallowed. "Mr. Vance," I began, already shifting into the thing Nick had warned me about. "I'm seeing you're flagged as a delivery case." "I know what I'm flagged as," he said, not rude, just direct. "I don't need counseling. I need you to take me to her." A chill moved up my arms. Not because he sounded scary, but because he sounded like a man who'd already made peace with everything except one sentence. "Okay, I hear you. I need to explain the constraints so we do this correctly." "Please, I'm prepared." I sat up straighter, eyes scanning the protocol panel on my screen like I could will it to become simpler. "Ghosts can't speak directly to the living. Not through open air, not through standard devices. Our line can bridge under a consented delivery protocol. That requires a living party to consent in person, on paper at the time of contact. If she refuses, we stop. If she consents, we can connect for a minute, maybe two, depending on signal stability. All of these afterlife services, call departments, really work because the person calling doesn't have a connection to us. The connection between two people who know each other makes the line unstable." "I understand," Elliot said. "Okay, I need details. Your wife's full name, address, and I need you to tell me what she will say when she opens the door. Something that proves this isn't a scam." He didn't hesitate. "Her name is June Vance. She lives at 118 Wicker Lane, White House, blue shutters. There's a ceramic heron in a flower bed because she hates plastic and things that look cheap." I glance up at the case map that auto-rendered. A 10-minute drive from the office. "She won't scream. She'll go still and she'll say, 'I told them not to come this late.' She always hated late-night knocks. It makes her think the worst." My throat tightened. "What proof?" "She'll ask for your badge and she'll look for the envelope. Tell her it's in your left jacket pocket. Sealed. She'll recognize the seal stamp. We picked Moving On together years ago when her sister tethered for a month. June likes to be prepared. And if she asks why I didn't just move on, tell her I'm stubborn. She'll understand." I stared at the accepted call timer on the corner of the screen. The seconds kept stacking up like little weights. "Elliot, I'm going to bring my supervisor on the line for authorization." "Of course, I don't want you to break rules for me." I hit the internal switch. Nick's extension 1 ring. Nick answered immediately like he'd been watching my screen. "Nick, I have a delivery case. Elliot Vance, spouse authorized alternate method, bridge eligible, address is." "I see it." "Put him through." I toggled the headset channel. "Elliot, I'm bringing Nick on." "Hello, Mr. Vance," Nick said. His tone was the same calm it had been when he interviewed me. But there was something else underneath it now, attention sharpened by experience.
You're requesting an in-person bridge?
Yes. 1 minute, that's all. She needs to hear it from me.
Nick didn't ask for drama. He asked for logistics. June Vance, 118 Wicker Lane. You acknowledge that if she refuses consent, we cease the attempt.
I acknowledge.
And you acknowledge that you will not use the bridge to request favors, make demands, or relay instructions outside the stated purpose of the message? Elliot let out a quiet breath that almost sounded like a laugh.
I only have one purpose.
All right, Nick said after a beat. Approved. My stomach unclenched and then clenched again. Approval didn't make it easy, it just made it allowed. Nick's voice shifted back to me. Zach, grab the kit. I muted my mic for a second, pushed back from the desk and stood. My chair wheels squeaked too loud in the dim room. Nick met me halfway across the floor. He moved like someone who'd done this 100 times, and he always respected it. He handed me a small badge clipped to a lanyard, moving on, field operator, and a sealed envelope stamped with the company logo. Simple, official, and heavy in my hand. Then he passed me the phone. It wasn't like a normal smartphone. It was heavier, warmer, with a matte casing and a faint vibration in it like a sleeping animal. When I held it, the hum brushed my palm. Speaker only, per protocol. No recording, no personal devices. Your job is to deliver, not to translate. I understand. Nick's eyes held mine. Don't editorialize. Don't add comfort. Deliver the message clean and get out. I nodded. And remember, if she refuses, we stop. Consent is the whole bridge. I set the headset back on long enough to unmute my mic. Elliot, I'm coming to her. Stay on the line.
I'll be here,
he replied. I jogged out into the lobby, signed out the kit, and stepped into the cold night. The city looked the same as it always did. Street lights, wet pavement, a convenience store glowing in the distance. That was the strangest part of this world sometimes. The dead could be waiting on a line while someone argued about lottery tickets at a gas station 2 blocks away. I drove with the company phone in the passenger seat, its faint hum filling the car like low music. Elliot stayed connected through a constant trickle of static. Every so often, I heard what sounded like a breath that didn't quite make sense. Air moving without lungs. A tiny crackle like a sleeve brushing a mic. Like someone standing at the edge of a doorway refusing to step through until he was allowed to say goodbye properly. 10 minutes later, I turned onto Wicker Lane. White house, blue shutters, ceramic heron in the flower bed. I parked at the curb and sat for 1 second. Hands on the wheel, I looked at the dark windows. The porch light was off. I got out, adjusted the field badge so it was visible, tucked the envelope in my left jacket pocket like Elliot said, and walked up the steps. I knocked. Footsteps inside. Slow, careful. A deadbolt. Then the door opened a crack. A woman stood there in a robe. Her eyes were tired. She had her hair pulled back, out of habit it seemed. She stared at me and didn't speak for a moment. Then, exactly as Elliot predicted, she said, I told them not to come this late. I'm sorry to disturb you, ma'am. My name is Zach. I'm with Moving On. Her gaze snapped to the badge, then to my face, assessing. Is he here? I kept my voice gentle but professional. If you consent, we can bridge for a minute. If you don't consent, I leave. No pressure. Her eyes flicked past me down the street.
June.
Elliot's voice whispered through the faint static from the company phone on my hip. Not loud enough to count as contact. Not yet. Just a presence pressing against the rules. June looked at me and the tears came fast, like her body had been holding them back all day and my knock loosened the dam. Where is it? I pulled the sealed envelope out of my left pocket. Her breath hitched when she saw the stamp. I need your consent in writing. Just your signature. It opens the bridge. You can stop at any time. Her hand shook as she signed, the pen scratching loudly in the quiet. Okay. Thank you, I said softly. I stepped back a half pace and took the company phone out, setting it on the small porch table beside her potted plant like it was fragile. I tapped the reconnect code on the screen. Elliot, we have consent. I'm putting you on speaker. The hum in the phone deepened. Elliot's voice came through clearer than anything I'd heard all night. June. June made a sound that was a half laugh, half sob, and clapped her hand over her mouth. Oh my God, Elliot. Listen, Elliot said gently but firm, and I heard love in the firmness. Please listen. June swallowed hard and nodded even though he couldn't see her. Some part of her had known the rules for years. This was their 1 minute and she wouldn't waste it. I'm here. I'm listening. I'm sorry for leaving you with all of it, for making you the one who has to keep waking up, for making you hold the house and the silence and the plans we didn't finish. June's eyes squeezed shut. Tears rained down her cheeks without drama. You don't have to punish yourself to prove you loved me. I felt you and I feel you now. I don't need you suffering. I need you living. I don't know how. You do, Elliot said. One small thing at a time. Eat. Sleep. Let the curtains open. Watch your favorite TV show. Call your sister back. Laugh when you laugh and mean it. June let out a trembling breath, and her smile appeared for a second like sunlight through clouds. I miss you. I know. And I love you. And I'm telling you, you can let me go. June's hand lifted toward the phone without touching it. I love you. Go. I'll be okay. I swear. The phone's hum changed. It rose almost imperceptibly, and the porch seemed to brighten. Not with a visible light source, but with a sense of space opening. Almost like a window had been unlatched somewhere behind the world. Elliot exhaled. Thank you, he said. And this time he wasn't speaking to June, he was speaking to me. Thank you for bringing me here. You're welcome, I said quietly and felt my throat tighten. Elliot's voice went distant in the way Harold's had, but instead of regret it carried awe. There really is a light. It's beautiful. Oh, June, it's beautiful. So warm. So bright. June's face crumpled again, but it wasn't only grief now. I can see it now. I can finally see it. The line dropped. No shriek, no glitch, no drama. Just the system's soft beeps and then silence. June stared at the phone for a long moment, as if it might speak again. Then she picked it up carefully and handed it to me with both hands. Thank you, she whispered. I nodded. You did the hard part, I said. June gave a shaky breath. She was wrecked. But there was a looseness in her shoulders that hadn't been there when she opened the door. I stepped back down the porch steps. Good night, June, I said simply.
She stood in the doorway watching me go. On the drive back, the city looked unchanged. The street lights still buzzed. The wet pavement still reflected neon. Somewhere, people were laughing too loud outside a bar, living like the dead weren't ever a phone call away. My hand stayed steady on the wheel, but my chest felt full, heavy and light at the same time. Because this is what moving on really meant. Not spooky secrets, not heroic rescues. Just a clean bridge. One phone call at a time. Hey everybody, Kevin here from Nightmares Nightly. My voice has been a bit off the past few days. I've been sick, I don't know what it is. It must be some kind of cold. So bear with me for that. Should be over pretty soon. I got sick last week, on my birthday of all things, turned 32. Thanks for listening everybody, and let me know. Would you work at moving on? And if you received a phone call from a past relative, would you take it?